Buick has certainly been on a mission to completely re-engineer their entire US lineup. Over the last 2 years, we've seen the company introduce 8 all-new products, and today they've flown me out to Atlanta Motorsports Park to test out the last vehicle in this changeover. This is the 2018 Buick Regal GS. Now, the GS lineup has always been the high-performance version, so is this the high-performance Buick you've been waiting for? That's what we're here to find out. So if you guys can remember my full review on the regular Sportback and Touareg, you'll know that I was somewhat impressed with the vehicles, but the GS was kind of the high performance model that I've been waiting to actually test. So I'm not surprised that Buick decided to save the best for last. You can see the design of the front sports all the design language that we liked on the regular Sportback. You have LED accented headlights with LED daytime running lights as standard. Halogens are the standard bulbs, though you have to get an appearance package that my tester has for $500 to give you full LED headlights. The GS model comes with some specifics here. The grille is unique with more black accents. The GS badge in the center of the grille. It has some more black accents here with a more aggressive front fascia. Some silver accenting here for these faux intake scoops, which certainly make the vehicle look a lot better. I'm kind of sad that they're not actually functional. One thing I'm really happy to say that Buick has gotten rid of in the past are those porthole vents that were actually not functional as well. But I mean, overall, the GS definitely still sports that handsome appearance that we like on the Sportback, but they kind of puffed it up. I kind of think the regular Sportback should just look like this, but I'm really happy to see Buick making the necessary aggressive changes to differentiate this from the rest of the lineup. Now, looking at the side profile of the GS, you can see it's also been puffed up, beefed up versus the standard Sportback. All the GS models will come with these 19-inch wheels with upgraded Brembo 4-piston brakes, upgraded rotors as well. These are ventilated front and rear as opposed to the standard Sportback, although you only get the Brembos on the actual front brakes. Now, in terms of the size, Buick hasn't changed that for the GS model. It still rides on a wheelbase that's about 3.5 inches longer than the old one, about 112 inches long. It stretches about 192 inches long, so it's a couple inches longer than this car's main competitor, which Buick says is the Acura TLX A-Spec. Now, this is the all-new Sportback design, so it's got a more sloping roof line to kind of give it a more coupe-like look. Unfortunately, Buick does not offer the Tour X as a GS form, which I kind of think is a mistake. I think a hot version of the wagon would have been a nice replacement for the dead CTS-V wagon. Now, at the rear, it's got the same taillight design as the regular Sportback. The taillights have been blacked out. You also have its own unique rear diffuser and its own sport-tuned exhaust, which does sound a lot meaner than the standard 4-cylinder turbo of the standard Sportback and of the old Regal GS. So for the time being, I switched to a white exterior color one. This one actually is a $495 option. I think it looks particularly good in the white with the red caliper to kind of contrast that. Now, all Regal Sportback GS models will come standard with the company's smart key access system with push button start and remote start. To activate the remote start, push the lock button and then push and hold this button. And then the engine starts right up for you. It even has a nicer growl to it versus the standard Sportback model. To turn off the remote start, just push and hold that button again, and that will turn off the remote start for you. Now, when you first approach the Regal GS, you can see on the door handle here, it has a chrome button to lock the door. And to lock the door, you push this button here to lock it. To unlock it, there's no sensor on the back of the handle. You have to push the button again, and that unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the interior of the GS, Buick really wants to show the interior as differentiated by the seats. I mean, these are specific to the GS. They're 14-way sport seats. Now, these are not Recaro branded seats. Buick's it's Buick's own design. Buick says they're also AGR certified. Now, AGR, it's a German word, a German company that basically has something to do with your back support. They support, or they show their support for people who want seats that are good for your back. So these seats in general are very comfortable. I drove the car here on a 2-hour trip to get to this track. I found them to be really nice. They're also heated and cooled, and they're massaged. So this is the only way you can get heated and cooled seats and a massage function. You have to go for the GS. The rest of the interior is pretty much standard Regal Sportback stuff. And now when you get inside, I definitely don't really notice it sits any lower than the standard Sportback, but when you shut the door, It sounds pretty nice. There's a water bottle in the door pocket here, which is that little rattle you heard. Now you can see the GS again have some specifics here to kind of differentiate it, but if you want to start it up, you gotta put your foot on the brake and then push this button here to fire up the engine. Now the engine itself definitely has a meaner growl. Let me turn off the climate control here and you can listen to it real quick. Sad to say it's got a 4,000 RPM rev limiter, but this car does come with a sport exhaust. It definitely sounds a lot better as a naturally aspirated V6 versus the Turbo 4 that's in the standard models. Now looking at the rest of the interior, it hasn't really changed too much in terms of the dash. You still have the same material here with the faux stitching on the top. It's soft touch right there. There's some new carbon fiber trim, or like faux trim, that definitely brightens it up. It makes it look a little bit nicer. I really like the flat bottom steering wheel that Buick gives you. It's a nice thick rim. It's got some aluminum trim. The door panel materials here are also soft touch, just like the front seats. It's got a chrome aluminum door handle here. The armrest is nice and padded. The windows are one touch automatic for only the driver and the front passenger window, not for the rear. One thing I am noticing it's missing, this is the GS model, and where are my paddle shifters? I'm really shocked to see that there are no paddle shifters on this car. Instead, you have to access the manual mode from the shifter here, which I think Buick should have really just put on paddle shifters. They could have just taken that from another vehicle from parts sharing. Now, looking at the center stack, you can see they addressed the issue I had with the standard model, and that's replacing the instrument panel. It's got a big 7-inch LCD in the center, kind of cutting into the tach and the speedometer. Or the speedometer is digital, which is nice. This is more updated or upgraded versus what I see in the standard models, which kind of reminds me of a Chevrolet Cruze. There's also a head-up display in front of you that is standard, or it's optional on the GS as part of the upgrade package you can get. Now the 8-inch touchscreen display is standard here across the board. It does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It has a backup camera. You can see this one has the embedded navigation, which is part of a sights and sound package. When you put the vehicle into reverse, it does give you that backup camera with no 360 camera available, which surprised me, but it does have rear parking sensors, which is nice. The camera isn't anything to run home about. It's the standard look. The resolution's a little bit grainy, if I'm being honest here. Now, looking at the rest of the center stack here, hasn't changed. You still have dual zone climate control. You have heated and cooled seats, which is definitely nice to have when it's a warmer, humid day. And then down here, you can see those empty buttons that I was complaining about in the regular model. They're replaced by a sport mode here and a GS mode. Sport mode's kind of like 1 degree notch above the touring standard mode, and then GS mode takes it to another level. We'll go into the different drive modes later on in the test drive here. There's still empty buttons here, which I don't know what that's for, but you can see there's also a wireless charger in here. There's some cup holders, a little bit more storage. There's one cup holder over here. Your wireless charger is actually in here. In the center stack, there's some pretty decent storage as well as a USB port. That's how you access your Android Auto and your Apple CarPlay. Now, if you want to turn on the massage seat function, the control is actually down here, and you have to push this button here. It's only for the backrest. I'm not a big fan of the massage. It just kind of pushes in and out the lumbar support, which is kind of similar to the LaCrosse that I had last year. I guess I've just been spoiled trying the massage in like a Volvo or in a Mercedes. I think the massage seats in that are much better. Also, the Cadillac CT6 offers a much better massage function. But overall, the front seats, the interior is certainly nice. I like the sunroof that you got as a $1,000 option. No pano roof available, but the seats are really the highlight. And I think a lot of you who buy this car are really going to like the seats for daily use and for taking it out to the track. Looking at the back seat of the Regal GS, you can see it hasn't changed also from the standard Sportback. It has decent sized legroom and headroom because this vehicle is slightly larger than a lot of its competitors. Now getting back here, you can see I don't really have to duck my head too much, although you do have to a little bit. But because the seats are nice and sculpted, it feels like there's actually more knee room in here, which is nice. Now shutting the door, it sounds just like the front seats, nice and solid. And the materials here are actually soft touch. They carried that through, which is nice. It's padded right here where your elbows are going to rest. Buick did include 2 USB ports, rear seat air vents, but no heated rear seats. I wasn't really expecting that, although at this price range, maybe they should have thrown that in, to be honest. There's also no mat pockets here for storage because of these sport seats, but the seats still fold down 60/40, and then you also get a nice armrest with some cup holders here to make the rear seats a little bit more comfortable. Now, the Regal GS still has the excellent cargo flexibility of the standard Sportback, because even though this looks like a sedan, it's actually a hatchback. With the rear seats up, you're getting around 31 cubic feet of space, which is literally double what you get in the old model and its competition. Fold down those second row, the back seats, and you get around 60.7 cubic feet of space, which is literally better than some of those small subcompact crossover SUVs, which is definitely nice. Now, underneath the floor here, there is no temporary spare tire. Instead, Buick gives you a fix-a-flat kit. So those of you who want that, you may want to look into adding one through your dealer or the aftermarket if it's available. So underneath the hood of the new GS, this is the area where a lot of enthusiasts are going to be wondering what's going on. Buick has replaced the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder of the previous generation. Instead, they've gone with a naturally aspirated V6, which is definitely bucking the trend of downsizing that everyone's going to. Now, Buick says they did this for just performance and character differentiations and to just make this car a little more different than the standard GS. Now, this is the company's 3.6-liter direct injection V6 with variable valve timing. It's a relatively large motor and it makes good numbers, 310 horsepower and 282 pound-feet of torque. Now, if you're keeping score, that represents a 51 horsepower increase over the old model, which had 259 horsepower. However, it does have slightly less torque, about 15 less pound-feet of torque. Now, despite a bigger engine under the hood, Buick says the fuel economy remains the same as the old model. It's still rated at 19 city, 27 on the highway. It now runs on regular gas, so you don't have to put premium like you do on the turbocharged 4-cylinder. Now, the transmission's also been replaced. Instead of the old 6-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual that they offered for a few years, you only get one choice only. It's a 9-speed automatic transmission. All GS models are now all-wheel drive, whereas the previous model offered a front drive model. This car weighs roughly about the same, about 4,300 pounds as equipped like this, fully loaded. So first setting off in the all-new Regal GS, the first thing I'm noticing immediately is just how much stiffer the car feels, especially compared to the standard model. Oh yeah, that engine definitely sounds fantastic, and I can really hear the exhaust from the driver's seat. The sport-tuned exhaust definitely has a nice throaty growl to it, especially if you guys are so tired of all those, turbocharged 4-cylinders and their whines that they make. This has a nice meaty. Oh yeah, it really loves to rev too. It's a really screaming engine. This 3.6 V6, it's the same engine that we know and love in the other products like the Cadillac CTS and the CT6, all the way ranging to like a GMC Canyon pickup truck, which is definitely interesting. It just makes really nice noises. I'm really impressed with the sound it makes. And also the 9-speed auto is very responsive, which is a better transmission than the ZF 9-speed auto that I last drove in the TLX A-Spec. Now, with the GS body style or trim, you don't just get a better engine, you also get upgraded suspension tuning and steering. And I'm definitely noticing it's been beefed up on this model. The steering itself is nice and quick. It's really smooth as well. It's electric power steering. I have it in the GS mode here, so it's kind of firmed everything up to give you the most effort, the most feel. The shocks also go into its most aggressive damping. The 9-speed automatic also will hold gears longer. I'm just missing paddle shifters. Like, where the heck are the paddle shifters? I just don't understand why your high-performance GS model doesn't have paddle shifters. You're going to take away the manual transmission, which honestly nobody bought, so I'm not really complaining about that. Just at least give me paddle shifters. But man, going around these back roads here in Atlanta, just outside Atlanta at least, man, sounds great. This engine is fantastic in terms of the noise. I feel like Buick kind of took the easy way out by just putting a naturally aspirated V6 in this. I would love to see, a 3-liter twin turbo V6 from the CT6 in this car, with the all-wheel drive. I think that would be even more hard edge. As it is now, the GS is an excellent back road companion, a great daily driver, a great cruiser. All the driver assistance in this car works relatively well. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's not going to set the world on fire like Tesla's Autopilot or Volvo's Drive Pilot or the ProPilot Assist that Infiniti is coming out with. But I mean, overall, in terms of just a quiet, comfortable commuter car that can have a little bit of fun if you guys want to put into its sport mode, the GS very much excels at that. Wow, that sounds great. I have to admit, I'm really impressed with this V6. It's a much better, partner for this chassis. It just feels really good. It has great noises. The transmission shifts nice and quick, firm. It's responsive, and it moves the vehicle out well. Now, there's really no test data, but it feels like this car gets to 60 in just under 6 seconds, which makes it a little quicker than the old GS. That one was like around 6.5 seconds. This feels like a sub 6 second car. And really the noises that it makes are really what impresses you. And also Buick really fixed the ride quality. The old model that I had a few years ago actually had the 20-inch wheels. This Buick doesn't even offer anymore. And this car rides really nicely. Even in its GS mode, I could drive it all day long in GS and it'll still be comfortable. I could drive this in rush hour traffic. on some bumpy roads. And if you don't want to be in GS mode, just take it out of it and it returns to being a quiet, comfortable tourer. Now the interior is a little bit noisier than the standard model because it doesn't have those quiet tuned tires, but it's still relatively quiet. It's still a little too quiet for a GS model. But I mean, overall, you're going to kind of get into the GS model and it's not going to really disappoint you. It has all the refinement and the speed that you get in the Acura TLX A-Spec or the current Lexus IS350 F Sport. But it's got a better transmission than the Acura, it's roomier than both, and it has more cargo capacity than both. So it's kind of just different. If you want something that's different, the Buick Regal GS Sportback definitely should be at the top of your list. And with that all-wheel drive, it just has grip for days. There's no drama, there's no torque steer. It just really pulls every time you put your foot down. And when you have it in GS mode, this car will vector the torque more toward the rear. It gives you more of a rear bias. It never feels rear-wheel drive to me. It just feels very planted and very secure, kind of like what you get in Audi's quattro all-wheel drive system. So I think for buyers in this segment, they kind of hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what you're looking for, is that confident, smooth, aggressive, but very, still luxury-ish car feel, and the GS really delivers that. So after spending the day with the all-new Regal GS, I'm happy to report that it's nice to see this car back in the Buick lineup. It offers a lot of value and performance wrapped in a very refined package, especially when you compare it to the old Regal GS. Now, as you guys saw from the test drive, it's a very comfortable daily driver. The V6 makes pleasant noises. The 9-speed automatic is a very smooth and refined partner for the engine, and the all-wheel drive gives it the traction that a lot of people in this segment are really going to look for. Now, Buick says its main competitors are the Acura TLX A-Spec and the Lexus IS350 F Sport. This vehicle is bigger than both those vehicles and it offers way more trunk space, so I think that in itself will definitely be a nice selling point as long as you can look past the Buick badge. So with all that said, what's it going to cost to put the Regal GS in your driveway? Well, compared to the old model, which offered front-wheel drive, this is considerably more expensive. That model started at a tick over $35,000. Add like $2,500 if you wanted all-wheel drive. The new GS with all-wheel drive as standard starts at a little under $40,000, $39,995 with destination. Of course, that's if you guys get a basic model, and I really recommend you at least get the appearance package for the LED headlights and the wireless charging for $500. My tester also has a driver confidence package 2 that gives you adaptive cruise control and automatic braking, and it also has the sunroof and the sun and the sights and sound package, so it has that upgraded head unit and sound system. All in, my tester cost about $45,000, a tick over that, which is literally right in line with a 2018 TLX A-Spec if you're going to compare the two. What the Buick does offer versus the TLX is a better transmission, I think better seats, they're more supportive and they hug you, and it has that massage function and way more cargo space and versatility if that's what you guys are looking for from all the mundane sedans that are kind of all over the roads in here in America. If you guys are also sick of a crossover, this kind of offers a nice blend. As I said before, Buick is looking for that white space in between. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2018 Buick Regal GS. If you're in the market for a sporty high-performance sedan that's not really too much on the ragged edge of harsh, this one's certainly worth a look. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.